Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request. This time for Johnny. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, commentaries, tier list reviews, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this time Johnny wanted me to do a commentary on the 1992 Steven Seagal film, Under Siege. Since I actually do like this movie, there won't be that much. Well, no, there'll probably still be some complaining about Steve Seagal, but it's one of those things where not not about this movie, because this is actually a good film. But I'm pause at the beginning, 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As we got the Warner Bros. Logo. Now, this is when Steven Seagal was at the height of his stardom. And despite what I say about Steven Seagal nowadays and the past 20 years of what he's done personal wise to people, career wise, his movies that have been a complete utter joke for 20 years, I still sincerely enjoy his early films. Above the Law, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, Out for Justice, this movie. I even enjoy The Glimmer Man. I didn't have fun with Under Siege 2. I could watch Fire Down Below and enjoy it. Even Exit Wounds, despite some nitpicks here and there. But I can see why at this time he was a big star. I do think he had that it factor. He could be fast without Tito that looked different and looked new and it looked unique compared to the other martial artists. And he had that squinty eyes, soft spoken, like Clint Eastwood type of demeanor. And bone crunching, brutal action. They didn't feel different compared to Chuck Norris and other stuff. So, like I said, I could see why he had that unique presence and look and tone of voice. That actually worked well with these type of movies. He fit well. I still could see and I can still understand why he was a star at this point. It's just that his ego, being insecure, all the issues, making bad, poor choices, being complete dickhead, it seems, to a lot of people as his ego get away from him, treating stuntmen like crap and hurting them. Just consistent upon consistent sabotage of his life and his career. And he still has no humbleness to him to showcase that he screwed up. But yeah, Steven Seagal, like I said, his films were gaining traction. And they were outperforming like Jean-Claude Van Damme. When you look at the box office, Steven Seagal was doing miles better than Jean-Claude Van Damme. Van Damme films would make maybe 15, 20, 22, 23 million, but Steven Seagal was making 40 million, 50 million, in this case 80 million. And like this was his most popular film. This is like, oh, now he's broke into the mainstream. What's he going to do afterward? And this is why Warner Bros., despite problems they had with his ego, despite problems they had with him wanting control, butting heads with creative people or directors. Although Andrew Davis, I mean, worked with him in Above the Law. I mean, he worked with him well enough in both instances, but I think he saw a difference between Above the Law and Under Siege, where by this point he's now got a little bit more power, a little bit more of a yes men around him and such. Now that guy talking in the Steven Seagal, that's Raymond Cruz. He would be in Alien Resurrection and quite a few other films. And I mean, it was a fun concept. Die Hard on a battleship. You know, there's a lot of these Die Hard type of movies after the success of Die Hard in 1988 that changed the game in terms of action movies. It's like, well, how about Die Hard on, in the mountains? Cliffhanger. How about Die Hard in a battleship? This movie. How about Die Hard in a hockey rink? Sudden death. How about Die Hard in a blah blah blah? And there was George Bush Sr. But I mean, this film definitely has a nice budget to it to have a sleek look in terms of what they're able to use with the actual battleships and the USS Alabama, which stood in for many of the Missouri sequences. Apparently, the original script was Dreadnought, but the title did not test well with audiences. And then the marketing team wanted a three-word title, Last to Surrender, and Seagal hated the title, and so it became Under Siege. Erica Laniak, the talking about, and she really was Miss July '89 in Playboy. And when you see her later, you'll know exactly why she was Miss July of '89. But this film, I mean, it works because you have great villains in terms of Tom Lee Jones and Gary Busey. Great usage of this battleship, like having an actual battleship to work around. You have solid set pieces that Andrew Davis was able to manufacture. And word was that Harrison Ford saw this and approved his Andrew Davis of directing The Fugitive. So this got him The Fugitive. Of course, this song was used in quite a few movies at this time. Before this was used in The Perfect Weapon with Jeff Speakman. I've got the power. Which I like Perfect Weapon over this, but I do like this film. I mean, well, he said those lines well as it should be. I guess I won't be here to see him go through puberty. When he actually cared and he maybe listened to the directors and gave an iota of shit, where he was in shape, it was his own voice, he gave a fuck about being in a film, it could work, but then he just stopped caring. I'm going to be late, I don't want to be on set, I don't want to do this and that. Now, this guy, Ensign Taylor, is played by Glenn Morshower. I remember him in the Pauly Shore film In the Army Now. He was in Air Force One with Harrison Ford. Among other stuff. That guy he's talking to, that's Raymond Cruz, who was in quite a few stuff. Now this guy, the captain, the Missouri. It's supposed to take place in the Missouri, but again, it was shot on the Alabama. Uh, the captain is Patrick O'Neill. And I know he seemed familiar. He was in The Stuff. He was in this film, The Stuff. Directed by Larry Cohen, which is I'm a fan of. Played the character of Fletcher in that. And this film, like I said, did well. It made over 80 million in the U.S. It was number one at the box office. The top 10 of that weekend was number one, Under Siege. Number two, Last of the Mohicans. Number three, The Mighty Ducks. Number four, Hero with Dustin Hoffman. Number five, Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck. Number six, Sneakers with Robert Redford. Number seven, 1492. There were two Christopher Columbus movies at that time because it was like the 500th year anniversary of Christopher Columbus. Just 1492, then 1992. So it was like that one and the other Christopher Columbus movie. That was the one I think that Ridley Scott did. Number 8, Mr. Saturday Night. That was with Billy Crystal. Number 9, Captain Ron with Kurt Russell. And number 10, Legendary Glenn Ross with Al Pacino and Jack Lemmon. And here we got Gary Busey, who of course by this point was in Lethal Weapon. He got an Oscar nomination for the Buddy Holly story. Point Break was around this time. Predator 2 he had done before this. So Gary Busey definitely did his share of action, and before the motorcycle accident and other stuff really fucked up his brain tremendously. I think the guy has brain damage. I do. That doesn't excuse his behavior 100%, where he's like groping women at conventions, but I don't think the guy's in his right state of mind. I do think, again, he's mentally not there, and we've been seeing it for a while. David Busey is a great villain. That's that strike the officer. That's strike the officer. Show a little bit of his steals early on. And I think Steven Seagal does a capable job of what he's supposed to do as the action hero. You wouldn't hear a line like that today. But it makes sense for Gary Busey to say that because he's a guy willing to kill people and kill innocent people. So yes, if he's willing to kill people, innocent people, he's going to say some naughty words as well. Just making all this shit up about Steven Seagal's character. Well, I mean, maybe that's how Steven Seagal feels in real life, but not the character. I know when they did the sequel, there was talks of bringing Gary Busey's character back, which makes no sense because he's on the submarine and the whole fucking sub blows up. I did supposed to be somehow he survived, and it got a bit further in until they say, "Wait a minute, this is fucking stupid. What are we doing?" Like I said, I still like Under Siege 2, but I think this is the much better movie. I mean, you can't beat Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey, and Tommy Lee Jones is having a ball. And some people may be like, wait a minute, Tommy Lee Jones was in a Steven Seagal movie? But people forget, Tommy Lee Jones at this time wasn't the big actor star that people would think of later on. With Men in Black films, No Country for Old Men, and things of that nature. I mean, this was a time when these are the type of films he had done. Johnson County Jail, he was in Rolling Thunder, Coal Miner's Daughter, The Partridge Mine, which is a decent one actually, Black Moon Rising, which didn't do much. He was in Firebirds, the wannabe Top Gun movie with Nick Cage. JFK, he did a good job in that. But he had worked with Andrew Davis before on the Gene Hackman film The Package. So I'm sure say, hey, I like working with Andrew Davis. It's another job. Get to work this again. Now this guy on the left here is Damien Chapa. Well, he's the guy that played Tin in Jean-Claude Van Damme's Street Fighter movie after this. And yeah, this Erica Lane, yeah, she was on Baywatch. She was on, again, Playboy, 89. Tommy Lee Jones is just a lot of fun in this role. He's having a ball and a half. Much better villain compared to like Batman Forever's Two-Face. He's just so energetic and vibrant as a villain. And like a lot of times, the great action films, you need a, for the most part, you need a, it helps to have a great villain. And this has two great ones. But yeah, Tommy Lee Jones, I mean, you look at the past, I mean, these were not, like The Package and Firebirds and was it Gotham? These were not big movies. But after this, he got The Fugitive. He won the Oscar for The Fugitive. Then he got The Client, Natural Born Killers. Batman Forever was a big hit. So he got, Men in Black and uh, Double Jeopardy and Space Cowboys and No Country for Old Men and so forth. Get my paws out of the oven. Now, Andrew Davis, I mean, one of his first films was a slasher film called The Final Terror, which a lot of people hate. Because it's not a big body count, it's not a lot of gore. But I liked it. I liked the cinematography, I liked the cast. And that made it interesting enough for me. But then Code of Silence with Chuck Norris really brought him to the dance. And then he kind of just did that same thing, but instead of Chuck Norris, it was Steven Seagal and Above the Law. Another big hit. Then he did The Package, he did this movie, and then he did The Fugitive. Now, The Fugitive is really his last big hit, because you look at, he did Steal Big, Steal Little, which had Andy Garcia, didn't really do anything. Chain Reaction with Keanu Reeves was a bomb. A Perfect Murder, Michael Douglas, can't remember what that did. Collateral Damage, which I enjoy, but that flopped. Holes with Shia LaBeouf, I think that made some money, to be fair. I think that made some profit. And then the last film he did was The Guardian in 2006 with Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher, which was there. Eh. Yeah, I'm not. Like I say, meh, that kind of reaction. So of course, it's setting all the pawns in place, so to speak. Now this guy with the glasses here, he would be in a lot of Andrew Davis stuff. There's a few supporting cast members that would appear before in like Code of Silence and later in The Fugitive. Like some of them are the cops that talk to Richard Kimball at the beginning of the film when he's accused of murdering his wife. And Bernie Casey on the left there. Bernie Casey, of course, would be in Revenge of the Nerds before this, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure as Mr. Ryan, the teacher of Bill and Ted's class. Yeah, this is Bernie Casey, one of the people getting... Right, I never needed to see fucking Gary Busey in drag. Now, the guy with Gary Busey, the guy in the tuxedo, which you don't see him throughout it, is Cole Meany. And he's the guy that was with Gary Busey in the tuxedo. Cole Meany would, of course, be in Star Trek Next Generation, among others, but I remember him as Agent Duncan Malloy in Con Air. He's the guy that John Cusack stole his car. Is that your car? And it's Cole Meany's car that gets dragged by the airplane and dropped right in front of him. And Cole Meany's pissed at John Cusack. He's also one of the pilots that gets killed in Die Hard 2 as the plane crashes. Told his pies out of the oven. Now, like I said, I do think this is a entertaining film because, like I said, I think it has really good action set pieces when they occur. That they use the battleship area fairly well. Great villains. Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey just very energetic and fun. Yeah, there's Cole Meany with the earpiece and the tray of food and the tuxedo shoot with Gary Busey's character. He's going to kill our guard in a minute or two as they take over everything. Now, where I would rank this in Steven Seagal stuff, that's tough. Because as much as I like the film, the more I've done rankings before, and that's the tough thing with rankings. You ask someone a year or 2 years or 5 years down the road, things could change. But I would say, actually, I'll be right back. I'll leave you in suspense. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I had to do something real quick, but I am paused at 21 minutes and 8 seconds for those who are following along. 21 minutes and 8 seconds, as I believe Tommy Lee Jones is going to shoot his first victim and things will go apeshit. So 21 minutes and 8 seconds, 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Yep, he's going to shoot his first sumbitch. Nice headshot. So I was saying the ranking, like I said before, it's hard when you do rankings because depending on which year, things could change where one goes up or one goes down. This one maybe goes 2 up or drops down 2 based on personal feelings and thoughts. But like Steven Seagal, I would say as of now, Out for Justice, my number 1, has always been my favorite Seagal film. I love the accent, that the demeanor of Seagal's character, No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys being used, William Forsythe as the villain. Just always enjoy that film a lot. Number 2 would be Above the Law. Number 3 would be The Glimmer Man, because I always thought that film was a bit underrated. Number 4, I would put Hard to Kill, and number 5, I would put Marked for Death. Hard to Kill, this is for my family, fuck you and die, and those type of demeanor and fight scenes. Marked for Death, I hope they weren't triplets. And you're like, well, wait a minute, Under Siege would not be in the top 5? Although I do like the film, it would not be in the top 5, and I kind of thought of this before I started. Why is that the case? While I do like the film, as a Steven Seagal film, I remember reading up somewhere that he's really in it for like 40 minutes. This is a hour and 40-minute movie. I'm sure they're going, nah, that can't be the case. But when you think about it, yeah. As you're on the USS Missouri, which again I believe was filmed really on the Alabama. There's a lot of portions where Seagal's not in it, because like all this section here, he's caught, but it's all this section here with the bad guys taking over and killing people, like right there, that sumbitch. Well, don't kill him and the person next to you. There's all of the scenes with Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey. There's all the scenes way back in the Pentagon where they're talking about stuff and trying to figure out what to do and how to control the situation. So there's all that stuff going on as well. So yeah, there's a lot of times where Seagal's out of the picture, and you're concentrating on all these other avenues. And like I said, going. That's why, while I do like the film, I never loved this as much as other Seagal films because it felt like it's a bigger production, it's a bigger scale, but you got less Steven Seagal because it didn't have all this other stuff going on. Like you'll think of the past 10 minutes, how much of Steven Seagal have you really gotten? Not a whole lot, and that continues throughout. He'll pop up to do one something once in a while, and then we'll go from there. Yes. I think nowadays people say Gary Busey needs a psychological evaluation, and then some. Now, it's a pretty good score, too, by Gary Chain. If that name sounds familiar, he also did the score to Firewalk with Chuck Norris, The Perfect Weapon, Death Warrant with John Van Damme. It's a pretty decent, scores for action movies. And this film gets a 6.5 on IMDb. Apparently, when the guy wrote the script, it was supposed to be a guy like the first Die Hard, where it's just a normal guy. But when you cast teams, like, oh, it's not going to be quite that type of character anymore. And like I said, Tommy Lee Jones, I mean, you just say this was a casting call from the Fugitive, which he won the Oscar for. Calling them a bunch of wussies. Back to the days with these type of discs, which you wouldn't have nowadays. But this was 1992. One of the biggest problems the production crew faced was how to give the illusion that the USS Alabama, which is the Missouri in the movie, was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean when in fact it was docked in Mobile Bay in Mobile, Alabama. To do this, the production crew created a 100-foot long barge and a 60-foot high framework on the barge and hung a giant black cloth on the framework. The blackout barge was moved around the Alabama as necessary to block out city buildings and lights. Andrew Davis admitted in interviews later that he agreed to direct because he wanted to work with Tommy Lee Jones again and not Steven Seagal. The film's box office success played a role in delaying production of a third Die Hard movie. Originally, the script was born out of a spec script called Troubleshooter about a cruise ship taken over by terrorists. The idea was deemed too similar to Under Siege, and the script underwent several rewrites before ultimately becoming Die Hard with a Vengeance. The narrator in the opening sequence is Don March, a former news anchor in St. Louis. He was doing special series in Missouri when he was noticed reading news copy. He was asked to narrate for the movie. Apparently, the screenwriter J.F. Lawton, who wrote the original script, wrote another script in '95 titled High Roller, described as dire in a casino. The script was about a mobster and his men who take over a casino in Las Vegas and kidnap the owner, and the mobster's ex-hitman has to join up with the casino owner's daughter and a down-on-his-luck gambler to save him and stop the mobsters. The script was sold to Savoy Pictures for $1 million. They agreed to do a film, make it into a film starring Sylvester Stallone, but they disagreed with his $20 million contract to star in the movie, so the entire project was canceled. The company went bankrupt. The script was never picked up again. Ryback's line to Stranitz, Tommy Lee Jones' character, "I know you," and his reply, "Been a long time," sits a bit awkwardly in the final cut, but it refers to a scene written, but apparently not filmed, that was intended for the very beginning of the film. The scene was supposed to refer to an event 5 or 6 years earlier where Ryback's SEAL team were briefed by Stranitz, Tommy Lee Jones, then a CIA operative, prior to a mission that did not prove successful due to faulty or out-of-date intelligence. Possible had the unreliable nature of Stranitz and his suspect loyalties, leading to the failed attempt to assassinate him that is mentioned in the film. It is assumed this scene was never filmed due to either time or budget constraints. I do like that line. "You let me out, I'll shoot you myself." Back to the day when you had blood squibs, you don't have that anymore. Now it's gotta be CGI blood, CGI hits, which just looked fake and phony. Maybe people deem it much more safer, which I can understand that. But you gotta be very safe doing anything, and it just looks much more real and practical when you do that type of stuff. It just holds up better than a bunch of CG cartoon violence. It would truly be cartoon violence. Just like CGI blood takes you out of the movie, takes you out of the scene, and most part doesn't hold up at that point, let alone in the future. But you can watch this and the accuracy still hold up because it's all done for real and practical. Blood squibs. People were using it for years and years and years, and all of a sudden now it's an issue. If it's money, spend the extra money, and it'll last forever. That's the way I looked at it. You tell me there's no cores to cut that you don't need to be put on screen forever and last forever. Good old knife throw coming up. Right to the neck, I believe. Got him. Silent but deadly. Nowadays that's his career, but back then it was stuff like this. Yeah, overpower you, and a lot of breaking in Seagal's movies. Breaking arms, breaking necks, breaking this and that. A lot of bone breaking. And it's a little bomb. Little surprise for any future guests, so to speak. But yeah, before I get to more finding a bit trivia, I mean, his films, like I said, from the get-go, Above the Law, huge hit. There's Cole Meany from Con Air and such this generation. But they were just, again, Above the Law, a big hit. And then they kept making like 40, 50 million to the point of this, 80 million. But After this, he's had the biggest of his career. Warner Brothers are now thinking, well, this is our star now. This is our new movie star. Giving carte blanche to do On Deadly Ground. Which Seagal was like, I'm tired of doing these movies and these just martial arts movies and stuff. I want to have layers to the plot. He's insecure. His ego got in the way. And he's like, I'm going to do a message environmental movie mixed in with action. And On Deadly Ground, the action scenes are fun, but the messages were pretentious, were preachy, were not that well written. They weren't clever. They weren't interesting. They were just goofy with him fighting a bear and a dream scene or whatever the fuck it was. Just came off as ridiculous and silly. Because Seagal just doesn't work that way. That's not his wheelhouse. And that film didn't do well, and I think that hurt his ego. So, okay, Warner Brothers is like, listen, man, you gotta do something for us. Okay, Under Siege 2. But then that underperformed. While I do like the film, it did underperform. Then you had The Glimmer Man, which I do like, but that didn't do well. In fact, that doesn't even have a Blu-ray in the US. To this day, still, I have a unofficial Blu-ray, but it has no official Blu-ray, The Glimmer Man. Fire Down Below. There's a lot of re-editing, a lot of scenes that were deleted, and again, a lot of scenes deleted, and a whole opening was deleted. Action scenes reworked, and yeah, I like Fire Down Below, but it did nothing. It's a nice Jimi Hendrix there. Of course, anytime I hear this song, I always think of Hulk Hogan, NWO's Hulk Hogan's theme, Hollywood Hogan. Standing next to a mountain in my hand. But I don't know. Of course, it's before that, but anytime I hear this now, it's next to a mountain. I chop it down with my hand. I think of Hollywood Hogan now from the NWO. And here we have the War Room. There's a lot of scenes in this War Room, and to be honest, this is the least interesting shit to me. I mean, you have some recognizable people, like this guy here is Nick Mancuso, who is the bad guy in Rapid Fire, Serrano. And some of these other people I've seen in various movies. Oh, like, oh, I recognize that guy, and... But, my God, man, none of this shit was that interesting to me. None of that shit was that intriguing to me. And anytime I would watch the film, I would literally fast forward through these scenes as a kid. Because there were so many scenes going back to this War Room, and I did not give an iota of shit about it. I mean, other than Tommy Lee Jones' fun responses from time to time. Now, you did get those 4 fingers in the mail, didn't you, Tom? Like I said, Tom Breaker, this director of the CIA guy, the guy that used to know Tommy Lee Jones' character. Like, he's the bad guy in Rapid Fire. And they try to do a little bit of the Die Hard thing where they think they're one thing, but they're really another. To make them think that he's a psycho, he's maniacal, and really this is all kind of a robbery. To sell these weapons to another group. Kind of like Die Hard. Who says we're terrorists? And they're just robbing the safe. So it is following that bit of Die Hard formula, which I enjoy still and fun. Now this guy who's the Admiral, I know I recognize him. He's Andy Romano. He was the judge in The Fugitive. And he comes back in this role as the Admiral in Under Siege 2. And he was also in Eraser, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film from '96. Now it says here the original script, Dreadnought, was darker, bloodier, and violent. Bigger action scenes than the film. Some of the biggest differences between the spec and the film include terrorists actually killing all the people on the ship with gas or by shooting them. Female stripper character was originally working with Tommy Lee Jones and his team, was just as bloodthirsty as the rest of them, and at one point enjoying shooting and killing dozens of sailors, but she gets killed in an ending action scene. Casey Ryback was an older character and a Vietnam veteran, and there were more background for him which revealed how Tommy Lee Jones' character tricked and used his SEAL team to commit robbery, and after everyone but Ryback was killed, Stranitz offered Ryback half of the money, but Ryback shot Tommy Lee Jones' character in the gut but didn't manage to kill him. This is what got him kicked out of SEALs, since Tommy Lee Jones was working for the CIA. Only other character who survives and helps Ryback throughout the script is a Marine guard named Baker, who was guarding him while he was locked up. In the movie, this character only has a couple scenes and gets killed. There's also an entire part of the script where some Coast Guard ship is set up to go near the battleship, and Tommy Lee Jones' men tried to sink it, but Ryback and Baker stopped them by blowing up all the weapons on it. The ending was a huge action sequence where Ryback sets up a bomb which explodes, and as the battleship starts to sink, Ryback kills the rest of the terrorists, and after a knife fight with Stranitz, he cuts him almost in half with his knife. How the fuck do you do that with just a knife, though? Like, cut someone almost in half with a knife. If it was a machete or something, maybe. Then he and Baker, heavily wounded from all injuries they got, escape as battleship sinks and are saved by the same Coast Guard crew they saved earlier. He sold the script for $1 million, and it got him several high-paying writing jobs. One of them was in 1991, which he was hired by James Cameron to write a screenplay titled Streaming Steel, which was based on an original story treatment written by James Cameron around 1981 or earlier. And first version of the screenplay written by James Cameron's writing partner, Randall Frakes, who also wrote novelizations of Cameron's Terminator and Terminator 2. The story of Streaming Steel took place in a rundown future inside walled-off LA full of rich elites, with violent street gangs riding flying motorbikes and ruling the areas outside and what's left of destroyed streets. One of the teens inside the city, who's also a son of one of the top elites, beats and saves a female gang member from brutal army-like police force, and they both have to escape out of the city. After she shows him how police and elites are killing hundreds of poor and homeless people and forcing others to be their slaves, he agrees to join her gang, and after helping them battle other gangs of police, he fights his way to become their new leader thanks to his intelligence, while planning hit-and-run attacks and steals with riding flying motorbikes, and they declare war to the LA and police force. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you watch the film, you see how little Seagal is in it. Like, he pops it from time to time, which works for the film. They give a bit more to the bad guys and their demeanor and such. It's just definitely not as much of him compared to other Seagal movies by that point. Ah, yes, Miss July 89. Now you know why she was Miss July 89. Damn, 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 damn. Hot to trot. and then some. Beautiful. You're not gonna find many mainstream action movies have that type of nudity, and I'm trying to think what was the last mainstream action film to have that type of nudity. Not very often. There's be labeled sexist and all that other stuff. Yeah, think of the what was the last big action film to have nudity like that? I can't remember. What kind of babbly bullshit is this? Don't know anything. Of course you don't. I'm just a cook. I said there's a lot of scenes in this war room showcasing this stuff. No, I can't answer that. I don't know. I didn't sink your battleship, but maybe Peter Bird did. He did that movie. Yeah, you sound really sure. And of course, no, they didn't sink it. They've been caught. Beep beep. Makes sense. Why wouldn't you be the road runner? Shit. And of course, no. Being a fucking idiot. She's like Ashley in Resident Evil 4. I like some of his reactions. You hate being dead? That's what I mean. Like, I missed, as an action star, I missed this Steven Seagal. I would not still. I still don't approve of his personal, treating people like crap, and his terrible behavior as a star, as an action star. This is what I miss. I miss this type of demeanor, dialogue changes. Because he seems like he gives a fuck. Is that like making a fake accent? Like now he's urban, or now he's black, or now he's southern, or now he's whatever the fuck nationality he wants to inflect on a. He worked well. I liked Out for Justice. I liked his accent, but a lot of his accent is like, what the fuck accent is that? You're not black, dude. And half the time it's like he doesn't show up. He does. It's not even his own fucking voice at times. He's overweight. There you go. Got at least one guy with it. Which, I mean, that seems like a dumb detail, but it's like, okay, it did kill at least one, so it wasn't completely pointless. But see, Tommy Jones here is being smart about it. Listen, don't be a hero, don't be creative, find this guy, get back up, take care of this as soon as possible. Don't let it elongate, don't let it fuck around. Captain Dale Dye, this is a guy that has trained a lot of people. I think even Saving Private Ryan and others about what happens in training and war. Yeah, Captain Dale Dye has been used a lot in movies, especially in military portions. The SEAL team will fail. Come on. Has there ever been this type of action movie where a SEAL team goes in and actually succeeds? Not really. They always fail. They have to fail. Otherwise, the hero can't save the day. Can you imagine that? Like, the hero's, like, ready to do some stuff. The SEAL comes in, saves the day. He's like, oh, shit. Okay. Guess you didn't... I killed a couple people, but fuck. Here's the confusing thing about that, though. Tommy Jones acts as if he knew this guy. It's been a long time. But he was told the name Casey Ryback and didn't think anything of it. So it's like he remembers the guy. It's been a long time, but he didn't remember his name. You know what I mean? Like, that's the bigger confusion is he's like, it's been a long time and we've blah 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 together, but I guess he didn't remember Casey Ryback's name. Because he says, a damn seal. As if, not Ryback. Doesn't say his name like, I remember that name, Ryback, I remember that guy. But just, guy's a seal. That's for me. It's like they couldn't make their mind up of he remembers the guy. Like he says here, goddamn seal. He's more thinking of, oh, it's this former Navy SEAL, not, oh, it's this guy I used to know back in the day and he could be trouble. That's why at the very end it's like, wait, they knew each other? So I don't know. That's why just a bit confused on that front. That's just me though. Again, it's like fucking having to have Ashley and Resident Evil 4 tag along with you. It's like, God damn, I got to have this lady tag along, do this, this, and this. I guess so. Because, you know, what else you want to do? Nice. Austin Powers karate chop. It was before Austin Powers, but then this type of stuff Seagal was known for. And this one you see a lot less. I guess other than the scene later on in the workshop and such, a lot less of Latino, more of the gunplay. Maybe there's the other thing, like the other Seagal films I mentioned, you see a bit more of the Aikido stuff, while here is a bit more of the gunplay, and a lot less of the Aikido motif. But yeah, back in the day, you had a lot of, I said, diehard rip-offs. And you know what? I'm a sucker for that genre. I really am. There's a lot of those movies I did quite enjoy and like. You know, some would say Speed, but I don't know if Speed would work in that realm. But, you know, I like sudden death. I don't like the obvious Van Damme doubles during a lot of the fight scenes, because Van Damme was having problems with drugs, but I do like sudden death. You know, I do love Cliffhanger. I love Cliffhanger. The Rock. You see the Die Hard on Alcatraz. The Rock is a very fun movie. Air Force One. You know, Die Hard on the President's Plane. Con Air. Die Hard on a Plane. I actually like White House Down, which was years later. And I like Final Score with Dave Bautista, which was Die Hard at a soccer game. So yeah, Sudden Death is fun. I like Passenger 57. Love, love, love Cliffhanger. Under Siege 2 I like. Die Hard and Train. I like Olympus Has Fallen. Like White House Down. Air Force One. Con Air. I mentioned that. There's some ones I don't like. Skyscraper. Both the Nicole Smith one and the one with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Not a fan of that. Speed 2 Cruise Control. Not a fan of that one. Executive Decision I find insanely boring. Very boring. I also cook. And that might be one of the reasons why Van Damme wanted to do his Die Hard type movie, because he saw success of films like this. Got a good point, and it is the next target. As Seagal is ready to dismantle their shenanigans. I know there's a few stuff deleted from the movie. Like, if you watch the trailer, there's clearly a line where Seagal goes, I'll see you in hell, sailor boy. And that's never in the movie. So I don't know what else was deleted from it. Of course, this baby's gonna blow up that plane. Let's see. Trying to see if there's any. Put some bombs here. It's pretty much showing that in other countries some violence was cut in other countries. So and of course, this is the low budget Die Hard clone, so to speak. I love Deadly Outbreak with Jeff Speakman, which I have up there on a bootleg because it's never been officially released in the US. Although on Tubi, I think you can find it. Command Performance is fun, which is Dolph Lundgren's Die Hard at a concert. Die is easy, rock and roll is hard. There's a nice explosion here with this jump. Now this is definitely a movie trailer moment. Nice work by the stunt person there. With some close-up shots of Seagal. Definitely one of the big movie trailer moments. Let's see. Sorry, just looking at other stuff. Oh yeah, there's Breakaway, also known as Christmas Rush, with Dean Cain, which is Die Hard in a Mall. Project Shadow Chaser, that's a film people would mention. There's Kane Hodder being grabbed by Seagal and shot right there. There goes Kane Hodder. Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Part 7, 8, 9, and 10. So yeah, the guy Seagal grabbed and shot through, that was Steven Seagal. I mean, that was a... The guy Steven Seagal grabbed and shot through, that was Kane Hodder. Ooh. I'm guessing that was a dummy. Well, yeah, it would have to be a dummy they put as the door flies back. Really, huh? You sure about that? I like Tommy Lee Jones' reaction where he's like to Gary Busey's character right here. You're a maniac. Drown your own crew. They don't like me anyway. I bet they fucking love you now. This is you also have Cole Meany. Like you have some pretty fun, good villains in this. It was fun. Like Van Damme never had. I mean, well, yeah, sudden death is fun. Executive Decision, not a fan of. Passenger 57, I like. Cliffhanger, love. Hard Rain, that's another one I enjoy. Christian Slater. Icebreaker, not so good. Point Blank, that's their Mickey Rourke film. Take Your Beverly Hills, how could I forget that? I love the Take Your Beverly Hills with Ken Wall from the TV show Wise Guy. Demolition High, Corey Haim did one. Die Hard at a School. Don the Dragon Wilson did one of the Blood Fist movies. Pretty much a Die Hard type of movie. Sorry, I'm just watching the film. I just enjoy Hard Boiled. I mean, the whole finale of Hard Boiled is like Dyer at a hospital. So, that's another one. As these men are getting the water treatment. Not us. It's an adventure. That big guy that said "I'm with you," Case. That was another guy that would be in. He's been in a lot of stuff. I think he was the sheriff in The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox. Like the cop, the sheriff who's friends with Michael J. Fox appeared in The Frighteners, and I think he might have been in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective as well. Bombs away. Seagal wants to say hi. Sorry, I'm not saying much. Just like, it's not the most grandiose action scene. It's pretty much going back and forth in a hallway, so it's not a huge spectacle. Which again is probably another reason why I put a little bit lower down the Steven Seagal list compared to other ones, other movies. Tom Lee Jones and David Busey definitely help with the satisfaction of this movie, as well as the actual uses of his battleship instead of cheapening out and trying to hide it like a lot of these type of movies, whether it be submarine or battleship. Like Michael Dudikoff did a few of them. Command was it? Can't remember their names. Strategic Command and Crash Dive, I believe. Dolphin did a film called Agent Red in the submarine. It's not a submarine, but I mean just saying. The court martial me if I live, sir. So all about to go ham, hard as a motherfucker here. Two Uzis a blasting, or machine guns, I should say. Maybe I forget what the specific machine guns they are. It's stupid to her run behind. What's she gonna do? Use harsh language? Why is she running behind him? It is like fucking protected Ashley for Resident Evil 4. She just does whatever the fuck she wants and wanders wherever the hell she wants to. Especially Resident Evil 4 Remake. But you definitely get some body count bits here. I think this is a bit where you get the most hand to hand, other than the knife fight at the. It's funny, like the. I'll get that in a minute. After this impaling here. There you go. Ooh, got a little bit of blood in there. But obviously, you got a knife fight, kind of like Leon fighting Krauser in Resident Evil 4, especially the remake. They have protected Ashley. I was gonna say, like, this is the bit where you get the most, other than that knife fight, the most hand to hand bits. Which, I mean, it's a perfect scenario, this workshop. And just to go to town. Ooh, right there. Ooh. Right in the armpit. Boom, get the fuck down. Ooh, right in the saw. There you go. There you go. Ew. And it's not glorifying the violence, but it's enough to go, ooh, like that type of reaction. And that's what Seagal is, that you got. Seagal's films seemed a lot more brutal and violent, with again the arm breaking in half, or that bit there with the knife going in there and the saw going to the shoulder and all that stuff. Now the other guy, who's the Asian guy, I think I recognize him. He's one of the guys in the monitor, the Asian guy. Not this guy with the glasses, but the other guy. Who's in at a monitor like that. Yeah, that guy there, the Asian guy. I think that's the guy in Rambo First Blood Part 2. Who Rambo uses a C4 tipped explosive arrow to blow up right after Ko, the girl, dies. Because he's the guy that helped kill Ko. And so that's the guy running from Rambo and trying to shoot, and Rambo gets his C4 tipped explosive arrow and just goes, phew, and he blows up. I think that's this guy here. This Asian guy. And his name is George Cheon, credited as George T. Cheon. He also had big roles in Big Trouble in Little China. I think he was also in Weekend at Bernie's as well. Let me double check. Yeah, as the gardener. What the hell? He just knocked out. RoboCop 2 he was in. He was a drug dealer in The Hard Way. Showdown Little Tokyo is one of Yoshida's men. Yeah. Oh, he's the little girl's driver in Rush Hour, the first one, before she gets kidnapped. Well, when she's seen that song. And the guy's getting annoyed in Rush Hour 1 in the car. Damn, RPG. Mike! Sorry, going with the Resident Evil 4 motif. They killed Mike. Sadler. I don't know why, I'm just seeing all these like Resident Evil 4 things. RPG, like the original Resident Evil 4. Well, I mean, Leon fights Krauser with a knife in that cutscene in Resident Evil 4. So, protecting Ashley. I know his name's Ashley. In the original, an RPG took down Mike, the helicopter. In the new one, it was Bugs. New Vistadors. And I'll be right back. Alright, sorry about that. I had to get something else done. So I'm paused at 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 7 seconds. 3, 2, 1, press and play now. And sorry about that. Just how it happens. Definitely some wreckage here. This other guy, I know I've seen him before. The guy walking down the stairs with a machine gun. Can't remember where, but I know I've seen this guy before. Now, I don't know how much of this is BS and how much of it is not. What they're doing here. It works for the movie, though. Kind of have their own bomb to unleash on this submarine. And what I mean by that is that the stuff that he's doing, how accurate it is, things of that nature. Because if you try to be too accurate, you run the risk of people, granted, who would ever have this stuff to do it, but there's always the fear someone will imitate it and things of that nature. But both having their own little montages. Well, Dear Chain made the music work. It fit the tone of the film, was consistent with the film, works within the realms of the film. Oh yeah, he just found out he gets shot at and he gets wounded at this time. And Eric Eleniak and them have to patch him up a bit. So that's another bit where Seagal's out of commission for a little while in the running time. That's what I mean. We compared to other stuff. Like, I mean, he's doing stuff to be fair. Some people may argue that's kind of like John McClane in the first Die Hard movie. That if you looked at the actual running time, it may be similar to this. But it still felt as if Bruce Willis was in that film more. I don't know how else to put it, but damn, what the hell? That guy had eagle eyes to be able to see him in the water like that. And from his, damn, yeah, I think he's wounded by the hooks here. A little bit on the back there. There you go. Fuck up a little bit of time. I think this is where Cole Meany gets it. Does I think Eric Eleniak shoots him? Yeah. Well, there's a few times, Seagal is showing weakness, which he seems very much against in a lot of other movies. And there's in Above the Law where he gets beaten up and bloodied up, and then he escapes. Another Andrew Davis film, and then this one where he's wounded, he's got to be patched up. I guess technically Hard to Kill at the beginning, where he's gunned down in the coma, to be fair. Mamma mia, what are you, Mario or Luigi? Mamma mia, tutti frutti. Why can't you speak English? So here's a little bit of Seagal being out of commission for a bit. Like I said, a lot of the shots of the bad guys doing stuff, or the bad guys talking, or the SEALs, or the war room, giving their fair share of time. In a way, maybe this is kind of what John Woo wanted with Hard Target, where, Van Damme said there was more Lance Simonson than him. Well, here at times it feels like there's more Tom Lee Jones than Steven Seagal. So maybe John Woo was going more for like this. I mean, for all I know, he never saw this, and then Van Damme wanted a little bit more understandable. Yeah, and Andrew Davis did a commendable job showcasing all of this, especially for a battleship that for the most part is parked and never left the water, never left into the sea. And this guy looks like he found the Santa Claus or just found the hooker with the heart of gold. That or he found the orgasm in the bottom of the crackle barrel. Or tractor box. I don't know why I always say tractor barrel. I don't know. At the bottom of the cracker box. Them tractor jacks. I don't know, they look like giant marshmallows, but of course they're not. That'd be funny though. They just shot marshmallows. But of course it's not. But teamwork too. One of those few times where Seagal is working with a team and showcasing teamwork. Because mostly it's like him doing it by himself. The fact is, I did Exit Wounds. That's another one dealing with teamwork. DMX, and you got Tom Arnold and such. More like him and DMX doing their thing. There you go. Now, how does Deary Busey not know that they have shells, but Seagal knew? Like, again, how does Deary Busey not know they have this equipment? Like Sidol's like, we got ammo for those. Like, how does Sidol not know that? I mean, how does Dear Busey not know that? Like Sidol knew, and then the guy's like, oh yeah, I get what you mean, but Gary Busey didn't know. In a way, you just say, well, he did do stuff like Coal Miner's Daughter and stuff. This is kind of the film that helped him become a star. Where again, this guy in The Fugitive, recognition, and Oscar and all that, and career flourish into Men in Blacks and No Country for Old Men's and various other projects. Volcano, which I'm a big fan of, it bombed, but I love Volcano. I mean, kind of too bad that Steven Seagal and Gary Busey didn't have like a one-on-one type of confrontation. But here you go. Boom. Well, how the fuck is Gary Busey supposed to survive that for the sequel they were originally going to do in Under Siege 2? Well, it made no sense. That guy's voice like track you. What the hell's going on? I love his little crazy monologue here. He just really sold this whole part, this whole situation, this little piggy and a ooh mama. What's that? Oh mama. Oh mama. Oh mama. Figure I got nothing to lose. I'm gonna turn again Honolulu into big old glow in the dark. There you go. So happy trails to you. There's a lot of fun there. Definitely up the stakes. Save 1 million people. Of course, CIA trying to save their ass. Yeah, it's the Quds fault. Yeah, they would do that, the fucking assholes. Them pieces of shits. Of course they would blame it on the cook. Why not? I said, I know this guy I've seen in other movies. I just can't remember exactly where. Oh, shit. Oh, don't go hand in hand with him. You don't regret it. There you go. Ooh. Rip his throat right the fuck out like he was Patrick Swayze from Roadhouse. Just, yeah. Now, can you really rip a throat out like that? I don't know. That's just, I've never done it. Although I buy Rambo doing it, Rambo 4, and Patrick Swayze doing it, so it's fun. It's a fun graphic image. This is where you get the confrontation between him and Tommy Lee Jones. The only time these guys meet, and on screen. Again, why did he like? He like didn't know the name Casey Ryback. He's like a damn seal, but you knew this. You get that knife fight. Now, very rarely in a fight does people get the upper end on Seagal, which was fun to see for a while, but it just got so monotonous and redundant on that. You watch a lot like Stallone; he would get beat up like a cliffhanger when the guy's beating him up, and he grabs the guy finally and impales him, or Van Damme. Even kickboxer and Fender and Cyborg did beating up and then do the comeback. Dolph Lundgren versus Soldier beating the hell out of him. It's just you never think the bad guy is a danger, gouging the eyeball, right in the head, and in the screen. It's not enough to gouge his eyeball. It's not enough to stab him in the head, but also to throw him right into the fucking screen. Triple header, so to speak. And that was a fun thing about Seagal, is like, what's he going to do next? And his, again, usually a bit more violent and brutal. Which It was enjoyable to see, enjoyable to watch, to be fair. Let's say, I mean, I don't know if I could feel a lot of tension in this because it'd be a really bummer if they just said, you know what, let's let Honolulu blow up and kill a million people. You know, they didn't save the day. That's not what I want. I don't want that to happen, but it just, you know, kind of we're just waiting for it to be stopped, and there you go. It's always got to be stopped like last second, too, with a couple seconds left, is always the case. Can't be like, oh, it's just stopped. We had 5 minutes left. It's always going to be right at the nick of time. Wonder how that shot was done, that POV behind the missile going through. Oh shit, it blows up. Whoop. Guess I lost. Guess that guy got me. Son of a bitch. Sometimes that happens. I mean, I don't really need the headphones. It's pretty much we're getting to the end of it and the end credits, but Sally, I watch back on this film with a certain sense of sadness. While yes, Seagal's not in it as much as the earlier films, it's still an entertaining, die-hard type of movie with good production value, capable direction, wonderful villains, and Seagal doing his thing in a very capable and competent fashion. You know, it's a good popcorn action movie. But Sally, this is the beginning of the end in a way for Seagal. While he would make films I did enjoy afterward, The Glimmer Man and Fire Down Below and so forth, they would begin bombing, and to the point that he did Exit Wounds, which was a hit and it was fun. Then he did what Ticker, that went straight to video. Half Past Dead was like 2002, which was not that good of a movie. And that was, other than Machete as the villain, that was the last film that was in theaters that he starred in. The last film he starred in theaters was Half Past Dead. And then, other than 2 or 3 little exceptions, it's just a world of shit in terms of direct-to-video. Whether it be Attack Force, Flight of Fury, the vampire movie he did, Against the Dark. Vampire, but they act like zombies. But it's terrible. Seagal just comes in, flashes a sword. Out for a Kill. So many of these titles that blend together. A Good Man. The Perfect Weapon, and not the Just Speakman one. There's a different It is so much garbage direct-to-video sequels where he would not show up on set, or if he did, he showed up late. He would not. He wanted to be on set as least amount of time as possible. He at times didn't dub his own voice, or sometimes it would be his voice, but other times it'd be a different voice because he didn't give a shit. He didn't give a shit to be in fighting shape. There are times he's fighting, sitting in a fucking chair, or sniper special ops, which most of the fucking movies sitting down. It's just a fucking travesty. It's just a fucking lame dutt fuck of a career he's labeled himself into because he hasn't cared. He doesn't give a shit. That's why I give credit to like Nicolas Cage. Not every film is a knockout. But he's still trying, so every once in a while you did a Willy's Wonderland or The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent or Mandy. You get some winners in there. For a while, Van Damme was doing that. Weight of Death and JCVD and Replicants. And Dolph Lundgren at times was doing that. Command Performance and Skin Trade. And I like The Defender. But Seagal, no, he just became the bottom of the barrel, worst of the worst, of action heroes going forward after 2002. Or started in 2002. Half Past Dead is not a good movie, but when you think that's a masterpiece compared to a lot of his direct-to-video shit, and I know because I reviewed all of them. And believe me, there's not that many people on YouTube back in the day that was reviewing Steven Seagal movies. I mean, when I was reviewing Steven Seagal films, I'm trying to think what year it was. Maybe my friend Fabio, the Italian Stallion, reviewed them. Let me double check real quick. So that's the credits roll. Let me first look up. Let me see, when did Fabio do his? He's a really good guy. I'm just curious when he did his. He might have done it before me, or I'm trying to remember. Let me double check real quick. Like, he started his in 2016. When did I do mine? And he might have reviewed Seagal films earlier, actually, now that I think about it. I think I was doing mine was around that same time too. December 2016. So there you go. So he actually started before me. But the two of us, you know, we were reviewing Steven Seagal films. Fabio the Italian Stallion 51 and me. And nowadays you see a lot of people go, oh, they're going through all those Steven Seagal films, blah blah blah, and they get to the later ones. But we were talking about them, you know, 6 years before other people were. We were telling people how bad and awful they were, but no one would listen to us. But I guess because we don't use footage and other stuff, which when we use footage, we get in trouble. When other people use footage, they get a pass. But whatever. Oh well, what can you do? It is what it is. But yeah, it's, like I said, a certain sense of sadness because there's the start of the end of Seagal, where he would just have terrible movies, terrible direct-to-video films that just completely killed his career. And to the point that he thankfully is retired and he's off doing whatever the fuck in fucking Russia, where the hell, whatever the hell he's doing over there. And like I said, there was a time where he was right to see, right to look forward to his movies. You know, back as a kid, I'm like, there's another Seagal film. I remember being excited when Odysee was coming out. I'm like, yeah, and I enjoyed it, and he's got a comeback. And I also remember, like, oh wow, Half Past Dead, can't wait to see this. And then being disappointed and thinking, man. But it's like, Matt, you ain't seen nothing yet in terms of Seagal. Sally's just the case. Sally's just the case. But with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. Thanks once again, Johnny, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.